So we're going to be looking at the definition. So what is literature? So what is literature? Let's try to consider what literature means. And remember, this lecture is very important for the UTME students and also for the WIC GC student as well too. Do you understand? So it's very, very vital. It's a comprehensive lecture which could benefit the SSC and the UTME students. So please pay attention. So we can say that literature is the imaginary work of arts. Okay. Now this basically focuses on the aspects of the fictional language. But we're trying to look at how literature will cut across both fictional and non-fictional aspects. So literature is the imaginary work of art. Okay. And we can say that it mirrors the society. Okay. Yeah, literature mirrors society. That is, it tells so much about society, it tells issues that affect society generally. So literature is a piece of writing, all right, that talks about the good and the bad that happens in society. Okay, so here we're going to look at so a group of individuals who are familiar with a group of individuals who are familiar with literary works, okay, are called literati, okay, literati, which is the plural aspect, called literati. Now, these are a group of people, all right, who fancies the aspect of literature. These are a group of people who admire, who cherish literature as a whole. That is, they love reading novels, they love reading books in general. Okay. Now, this group will be regarded as literati. Now, the next thing, now an individual, who admires the work of literature. An individual who admires the work of literature, okay, is known as literature. Please take note of this. Now, for example, you could possibly classify yourself as a literature, meaning somebody or an individual who admires the work, the literary work, be it prose, be it drama, be it poetry. The moment you admire the work of literature, you will be classified as a literature. And remember, a group of people who admire, okay, the study of literature, the works of art, will be known as literati. Literati is the plural form, okay, while the singular form is called literators. I hope this is clear to you, class. Now let's proceed. Let's proceed. Literature can be classified. Literature can be classified into both oral, take note, both oral, ORAL, both oral and written. But I want to bring your attention to this. The earlier form of literature, I mean, when literature started, the inception of literature actually began with the oral aspect. Do you understand? Literature started with the oral aspect. You know, as at the ancient time, there wasn't any form of writing at all. So literature started in the oral aspect. And then this oral aspect can be classified as songs. Do you understand? It can be classified as folk folklore, festival, legend, myth, Do you understand? So many of them like that. Those are the oral aspects of literature. Now, the earlier part of literature, the earlier part of literature began began with oral, such as what? Myth, such as legend, such as myth, legend, festival, such as ritual, such as even dance, song, folktale, folklore, and so on. Class? So these are the earlier parts of literature, starting with the aspect of ritual, festival, legend, myth, dance, song, folktale, folklore, and the rest of them like that. These are the very beginning of literature. That was how literature started. If you could remember that grandmothers, as at when you, if you're the type that travels to the village, or if you're very close to your grandmother, she will start telling you tales, stories. Do you understand? And these stories are fictional stories. Now, that incident is classified as literature. As at the time that she's telling you about tortoise, if you remember very, very well, then that was literature for you. She can only do that through the oral means. She cannot write it. I'm not saying that she's not educated, but then that was the platform that was available for her to convey the message orally. That's the oral form of literature, which is a very important aspect of literature, storytelling. And at some point, when people will gather together, do you understand? And then maybe celebration of a particular, if there's a celebration of an event or a particular festival in which people will start dancing and start singing, that is also classified as literature. You can see that literature is very, very wide, so broadened. Literature is not only in the written aspects. It is at this contemporary age that we're considering literature as a written aspect. It is beyond written aspects. Do you understand? Literature has to do with oral, which is the earliest part of literature. Most times in the olden days, anything that has to do with ritual, do you understand, is literature. Myth, which is creation stories, like the folk tale and the rest of them, they are literature as well too. This is just to keep you um, engrossed, keep you engaged, keep you entertained, and there are learning elements in it. For example, the grandma telling you a story wants you to learn one or two things from that particular story, and that's oral literature. So the oral literature is what we can classify as the foundation of literature. That was the foundation of literature. So literature stems from the oral aspect, and these are examples of all the oral literature. Are we good, class? Now, later on, the written literature began to suffice. Do you understand? People begin to embrace oral literature. That was what cut across the aspects of prose, the aspect of poetry, the aspect of drama. I hope this is clear to you now. All right. So, so after the oral literature, after the oral literature, then comma, the written literature emerged. The written literature, the written literature emerged. Okay? Yes, the written literature emerged. And that actually spread across prose, poetry, and poems. And this can be classified in the aspect of prose, poetry, and drama, which otherwise today is known as what? The genre of literature. The word genre is a French language and it means types or kind. I hope this is clear to you. Now, let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue. literature can be seen from two two broad perspective, two broad perspectives. Okay, literature can be seen from two broad perspectives. I hope this is clear to you. So you can examine literature from two broad perspectives. So you can see literature as literature in English or English literature. How do we differentiate between English literature and literature in English? Now let's look at that. So here we have English literature and literature in English. Okay, so we have literature in English, literature in English. Okay, now class, let's look at this. So what's English literature? From the word English literature, already you knew what literature means from this definition. Now let's try to look at English literature. So English literature refers to the literature of the English people, specifically the English people. All right, that is those who mother tongue or native language are English. For example, Australia, Welsh, Irish, do you understand? And the rest of them. So when they write, they try to portray incidences that happened during their time or incidences that happened at their location. I hope this is clear. So this is literature of the English people and is otherwise called non-African literature. It has nothing to do with African descent. It has nothing to do with African ethnicity. It is purely literature of the English people. It emphasizes the cultural background, the historical background of the English people. I hope this is clear to you. So this is literature that is classified to the English people alone. So let's write. So here we have English literature. English literature is the literature of the English people. The literature of the English descent. Okay. These portrays their lifestyle. This portrays their lifestyle, history, and culture. Are you with me now? And culture. So there are so many texts that we can make reference to being called non-African literature or English literature. Example can be Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. Do you understand? Yeah. Look Back in Gratitude by John Osborne is a non-African literature. So many more like that. Non-African literature can be prose, it can be poetry, it can be drama. Do you understand? The Journey of the Magi, for example, Bats, for example, Cage Bird. Those are examples of non-African texts. So this portrays their lifestyle, their history, and their culture. So it can either, are you with me? It can either be prose, poetry, and drama. Are we good? Yes, it can either be a prose work, it can either be a poetry, or it could either be what? A drama. I hope this is clear to you now. Now let's look at literature in English. Now this refers to stories, events that are conveyed, that are portrayed in English language. That is the medium of communication, the medium of writing can only be in English, not in any other language again. That's literature in English. So literature in English is more encompassing. Do you understand? So it cuts across literature in Africa, literature in Asia, literature in America. Do you understand? And every other places in the world. That's literature in English. It is very encompassing, and that's a major aspect. And you see, literature in English. So it means that we will not only focus on the literature of the English people. No, we look at the literature of Africans, literature in other aspects of the continent. That is, you would have writer from Africa, writer from Europe, for example, you writer from every other destinations like that. I hope this is clear to you. So now let's write literature in English. Literature in English refers to refers to refers to the narration of events across across all areas. Okay. Now, literature in English refers to the narration of events across all areas. Do you understand? So it means that this is a literature that would basically touch the aspect of other destinations. Do you understand? Other than the European aspect. So it is more encompassing. Okay. So it is more encompassing. All right. It is more encompassing. That's a full stop of that. Then you have next one. It cuts. It cuts across every other regions. Every other regions. Can you see? So that's the literature in English. Every other aspect. I hope this is clear to you, class. Now, that's the distinction. Now, what are the benefits of studying literature? Why do we study literature? Why is it important to study literature? Do you understand? So let's try to examine why it's necessary to study literature. So in other words, that will bring us to the importance of literature. So let's look at this aspect. So we have importance of literature. Why is literature important? Okay. So let's examine the importance of literature. Why do we have to study literature? Okay. So here, the first aspect is the acquisition of knowledge. Acquisition of knowledge. Do you understand? Now, I'm going to explain this to you. Do you know that through literature, you get to acquire sufficient knowledge? How? You get to learn so many things about people's culture. Do you understand? You get to learn about people's lifestyle, the history about people. Are we good? That's basically the importance of literature, the knowledge sake. The more books you read, the more acquisition of knowledge that you would get, definitely. So literature will expose you to knowledge from diverse areas. I hope this is clear to you. Now, number two, it cultivates the habit of reading. Exactly. Yes. Literature in English will imbibe in you the habit of reading. You would definitely love reading. You would always be encouraged to read. Do you understand? That's the essence of literature. It will give you the ability, the commitment to read. So it gives you the effrontery, the gusto to read more. I hope this is clear to you. So now, one of the importance of literature is that it will give you the habit of reading continually. 3, it mirrors society. It mirrors the society. Do you know that literature mirrors the society? How? Now, literature, through the reading of literature, it exposes you to things that happen in different societies. Do you understand? That's one thing about literature. It will mirror the good, the bad. Do you understand? It looks at different facets of the society, the different areas in which things happen in the society. That's what literature does. Now, the fourth point, okay, it is informative. It is informative. Now, literature is very informative. How? Do you know that through literature, you get informed? I mean, you get relevant information about things that happen in different areas. It will inform you about people's culture, people's lifestyle, the good and the bad that happens in different places. Now, it is entertaining. It is entertaining. For some people, when they engage in reading literary text, you understand, they get so engrossed with it. They get entertained. Why? By the thematic structure, what the writer is trying to convey. I mean, the message the writer is trying to portray. That's what will get you engaged. Just imagine if you're watching or you're seeing a movie. At some point, you get so encouraged, you get so motivated, you get so entertained. And as a result of that, what happens? You begin to anticipate. You want to know more. This is where suspense comes in. You just want to know more. What would happen next? So that's enthusiasm, the zeal to want to know what scene is likely to take place. That's the aspect of the entertainment of literature. So there are different other importance of literature, but I just wanted to look at five basic importance of literature. Why do we study, do you understand, literature? And then I want you to remember that we're going to be looking at the genres of literature, basically. Genres of literature, okay? That's another aspect. So here, we're looking at genres, genres of literature. Are we good? So let's look at genres of literature, basically. And I would like to tell you this, that the word genre stems from the French language, which means types or kind. So, in other words, we're trying to say types of literature or kinds of literature. Are we good? So, the word genre, okay, the word genres means types or kind. Do you understand? Stems from the Greek word. It stems from the French word, rather. Stems from the French word. Of course, I think I already taught you in English that if a particular word is borrowed from any other language, like French, for example, the same way it is pronounced in French, that is how it would be pronounced in English. For instance, this is pronounced as genre. All right. Some try as much as possible to, you know, try as much as possible to pronounce it in English, St. John's. Do you understand? But then it is genre. And genre here means the types. Okay? The types. We don't call it the types, we call it the kinds of literature. Yes. I forgot to tell you that the literature of the English people, do you understand? It is called the Anglophonic literature. Anglophonic literature. Let me illustrate that here. That is English literature. See, English literature, that's the literature of the English people. It's called what? Anglophonic. Anglophonic literature. Okay? So this is basically the literature of the English people. All right? Yes. Sure. Now, the literature of